the official Zoomcast of Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. He's an American guitar legend and musical director for the Conan O'Brien Show. Hear untold stories from Jimmy and his musical guests. They will talk music, its influence, culture, and future on The Green Room with Jimmy Vivino, with special guest Joe Bonamassa.
Well, the merch is a band's way in, to make a lot of money.
Or the traditional way, if like a large band will, a company will come in and be like, listen, here's, if you're Guns N' Roses to the Stones or whatever, they'll come in, here's 50 million for your T-shirt for merch, and because it's a buyout, and the band just takes the money, and they don't have to worry about cotton, they don't have to worry about T-shirts. Yeah, but that works for a band like the Stones, because that's a printing press. Okay, it doesn't work for anybody who's below the threshold of the haves and the iconoclasts. Like the iconoclasts are fine. Okay, there's endorsements, there's ancillary deals that happen. If you're Beyonce or the Stones or whatever, that's all fun. It's what happens when you're not a radio darling, when you're not a media darling, when you're a popular artist, but just isn't in the forefront of the mainstream, because if you listen to if you listen to country radio, I just did this because I had to drive down to Tampa from Nashville with my tour manager and shoot these videos, and they wanted me to bring gear, so we just drove 700 miles, and we did like a social experiment. We went from 1A plus 100,000 watt terrestrial country radio station to the next. Okay, and if you listen to that radio all the way down, you would think there are 10 country artists in Nashville.
That's it. Yeah,
that's it. All men.
It's the old playlist. Yeah.
All men talking about beer truck.
Yep.
And it's not true. So what happens if you're not one of those people? How do you maintain a living? How do you scale a business? And how do you flourish when the deck it's not the deck stacked against you, it's just the deck wasn't made for you.
Well, even country, Joe, is fragmented to outlaw, Americana, people like, the traditionalists, the bluegrass people, the Tammy Wynette's of the world, they're in a different box than Brad Paisley, who's in a different box than Jason Isbell, who's in the
he's more of Americana, and then you got the two Lukes, and then
me, Mama Luke,
and whoever, Darius Rucker, which is to me the greatest comeback of all time.
It's crazy. It's great. It's great.
And but the thing is, like, okay, what happens if you're Dale Watson?
Right. Okay. Who's just great,
so freaking good. Or Paul Thorn.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, it's just amazing. Yeah.
So again, it's like,
or Red Volkaert.
Volkaert, or there's
Bill Kirchen. Where's Bill Kirchen today?
Right. And
those are the lower level even that nobody hears.
And what about Larry McCray? We were just talking
Larry McCray, the same thing.
So it's the what about Dale Watson? What about and I'm not saying that Dale hasn't had a great career. I'm just saying that when we talk about Jason Isbell and all the great Americana music that he's kind of the Pied Piper for.
Yeah.
The fact that Dale Watson is not in that conversation tells me that there's a problem with lane shifting, and there's a problem with how to. It's not a question of talent. It's not a question of quality. It's not a question of work ethic. Anything other than straight up marketing.
It's funny too, because with we talk about Jason. When he was leaving, he couldn't decide whether to leave the drive-by truckers. He couldn't, and he called me he was in his car. When people are driving that 700 miles you're talking about, they'll call you. I get a call from Coco Montoya like that. Hey man, I'm out here. I got to drive another 5 hours. Talk to me. And I got that call from Jason when he wasn't sure what to do at that point, and he made the right decision. I didn't really give him any advice other than to do what, man, you're a great guitar player and songwriter and singer. He felt stifled in the situation he was in, whatever. But he made it. he made it, you know, and I would never have picked him leaving that band, which was pretty successful, you know.
It was successful, and it's hard to leave a band that is drawing a crowd, has a baseline of fans and a baseline of pay and everything like that, to just go out into the abyss. Bet on yourself. But I don't know anybody who made it to the top of the mountain of whatever genre they were in without having that moment of zen, where I go, if I don't bet on myself, nobody's going to bet on me.
Right.
So, and then you just kind of blindly fly into the universe, hoping it works out. But if you have the goods and the perseverance and the acumen to market yourself the right way, then you go from, I don't know if I should leave this band, to being bigger than the band that you left.
Yeah, because that's the same thing happened with Tweedy and Farar splitting up, you know, and then the two bands, and then, you know, Jeff ends up way up there, you know, and it was unforeseen. But you were the same situation too, where you're like, okay, am I Joe playing the club for $3,000 a night, or do I gamble? You know, so I mean, you have to have that 3,000. You have to have the confidence, though, right? You really must have what they call the WASMO in sports. You know, it's like you gotta have those guts, and you have to believe in yourself. So many artists are really shy about their talent. It's funny.
Or they're told the same thing for so long that promoting a concert is like this, you know, that it takes the same amount of mathematics as Einstein's theory of relativity. Okay.
Yeah.
and starting a record company is only something that, like, you know, Jeff Bezos and
you
Bill
can't
Gates
do that.
can accomplish, or, you know, being in charge of your own merchandise or having ideas on marketing. It's completely a fallacy that is propagated by the traditional music industry. You know, I think the most antiquated model of any tranche of the music industry are the booking agents.
Yeah.
I think especially now, when you're in a successful band, you have a agent call one of the two promoters, make a deal for 50 shows, and you're supposed to participate 7 to 10, 12% on that for a phone call. You can just call Rapino yourself. It doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter. You know, it's like, you know, but, you know, talk to somebody at William Morris. Now, I left William Morris. I didn't have a great experience, especially on the end of it, but they didn't get the four walls, and they wanted to participate in the four walls. And we were like, you didn't book the four walls, and why am I? And it was like, what? I'm paying you for nothing. I have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder about booking agents because of how my relationship with William Morris Endeavor ended. Doesn't mean that they're not nice people in CAA.
Well, the bigger the stable is, the less chance you have of getting the attention.
And you know what? That's the thing. It's like, you know, how many people in the blues world, they slip seat from agent to agent going, I just signed with a new agent. He's gonna double my guarantees. He's like, you know, he's gonna call the same effing people.
Yeah.
that your old guy did. And he's gonna get the same rhetoric. Okay, maybe you get a 6-week honeymoon period, but it's like there's a ceiling here that you got to break through, and the only way to break through is to do something completely different outside of what you've traditionally known.
Another thing that's happened too, and you probably saw this happening too, is that the onus is on the artists to get the people to come. Used to be, there were certain clubs and places that were happening, and if you got booked into them, people would be there. I mean, that's the way it was in the 70s and 80s and even into the 90s, but then it started to change, where it's like, well, who can you get? How many people can you get to the artist? You know, how can you use your social media? What's your email list like? No more is the club responsible for being a happening place.
Yeah, I mean, like, how many people you have on your social media? I mean, like, I can attest that I played many empty nights at Antone's in Austin when Clifford used to run it. Okay. I played many empty nights at the Bitter End. Okay, so it's the club didn't draw. It was
No, but on the same token, I would say to you, hey, let's play this little joint together. And you say, okay, well, the night of or day of, I'll tweet that I'm going there. And then all of a sudden, you couldn't get near the place because it did work.
It does work, yeah. And but that's the power of the social media and the internet. But to your point is like if an agent or a record company or somebody comes to you and says, listen, you fit our criteria. You fit our criteria. Okay. You have 100,000 Instagram followers. You have a blue check mark. I don't know what the hell that means, but you have a blue check mark.
Well, they won't give me one, so I don't care.
Oh my God, I'm verified. I can tell you I was verified before I got the blue.
I'm verified sounds like a blues song to me. Terrified.
Your video's got 1 million views on YouTube. Yeah. Your song has got 1 million streams, and you fit our criteria. To that, I would say a very eloquent 2-word retort and be like, why do I need you? Okay, that's more than 2 words, but the first 2 words would have been the F and the U kind, because why do I need you when I built the house myself for you to come in, act like some Svengali and go, well, we're just going to siphon off your followers and maybe, maybe tell you, that you should probably post at 11:39 in the morning because it has the most outreach. You're like, it's so backwards. The artists really have the power now to really control all of this stuff themselves. Whether they have the wherewithal or the intestinal fortitude to bet on themselves, that's a personal question, and that you find varying degrees of acceptance based on lifestyle, based on years in the game. And like there's people that I know that would be perfect for the 4-wall vertically integrated model. They're just going, Live Nation takes care of me. I got 10 more years, and they just keep throwing more money at me to do shows. Fair enough. You're happy, I'm happy.
Well, Joe, you and I have recently found a new way to say F you, and that's no bongo.
No bongo.
No bongo.
But you know what I mean. It's such a different time. I mean, one of the things that I do kind of feel not only blessed, but kind of feel, I don't know, sad is there are so many great talented musicians, guitarists, players, anybody that are coming out now that will never know what it was like to walk into a club randomly and see the baddest ass people on the planet, because chances are those badasses were either session guys or just musicians, touring people. There was no social media. It was word of mouth. Hey, go, you gotta, every Tuesday night you gotta go see Jimmy Vivino in the
well, we were right around the corner from the Garden, which didn't hurt, Yeah, but
it was like you walked in
and there's McFleetwood playing, and he's like the greatest shuffle I ever heard.
Exactly. And, because now it's like, oh, I think that's an Instagram influencer.
Oh, yeah.
A TikTok guy, and you're like, okay, the age of this discovery and the farm system of just working your way through the clubs, no monitors, just belting it out until you're good enough to stand up there with the cats.
Yeah.
Then step and repeat. And then you got into a van and forged out into the middle of the country and drew a crowd in Des Moines, Iowa. It's like I feel bad for younger folks that are not going to be able to experience that, because it really is a great way to build your chops, your music, your audience, brick and mortar, and it's a character building exercise, and that's for me.
It's analytics have crept into everything, taking the heart out of everything.
I know,
but let's talk about let's skip over to. I want to talk about this new this auction thing. Yeah. So tell me a bit about that.
So the auction, it happened on July 31st, 2021. I don't know the results yet because we're pre-taping this. It's an NFT with a guitar involved. And the NFT is a song, the publishing, it's a one-song record company, basically. Yeah. One song record company, you get the artwork, the making of video, you get everything, all the tools you need to take that single and market it to radio if you want. And it's my name and stuff like that. You own it.
The thing about non-fungible tokens is your ownership of something special and unique. That's what I like about it, because there's a lot of collectors out there that all they want is something special and something unique that nobody else has.
But what the twist was the fact that we offered the 59 Les Paul standard and the Vibroverb, the 63 Vibroverb that I recorded the music on, as almost a de facto gold standard based on where blockchain and crypto, the volatility of that kind of behavior may turn some investors.
Well, what led you to this though? I mean,
it's the first of its kind. And the idea was Roy and I were, my manager, Roy and I were he's more into crypto than I am. I'm more into mahogany, maple.
Yeah, right. Maple tops.
Rings. Yeah. But he's not a guitar collector. So we were talking about NFTs. We were talking about the success of the Tops organization with the NBA. And you're like, you could just screenshot that. Yeah. They do. But there's a huge market. They sold billions and billions of dollars of these NFTs because you own the image. And I said, you know what? I get it now. It's because you own the image. And part of our thing was we own our publishing. I'm so used to waking up in the morning and go, I don't remember a time where I didn't own the rights to all of my music and my likeness. But it's to give someone the opportunity to get involved in that business one song at a time, to me was very intriguing. And then we pitched it to Heritage with the idea of including the guitar, which is
Where's the guitar coming from?
The guitar came from my collection.
Right. Okay.
And it's a 59 standard. And I've had
that I may know actually, right?
I don't know if you've seen this one. This one ended up in New York City. So it's one of actually my new record too.
It's not just a digital song. It's not some artwork. It's not a lyric sheet. It's also a tangible asset. So this is in 3 dimensions. And, and the volatility of some of the cryptocurrencies and the non-fungible tokens, to me, I think we take some of that away by adding an actual asset that has been a valuable guitar since it was built 62 years ago.
Like if you're a skeptic and be like, well, let's say all these NFTs, billions of dollars worth of NFTs, suddenly if something happens and, somebody goes on Saturday Night Live and makes fun of NFTs and they all zero out, okay? Which is how volatile this crypto shit is. It's like, okay, if Elon Musk says something about NFTs and they all go down the drain and billions of dollars are wiped out, well, mine still comes with the guitar.
Guitar doesn't it only appreciates, and the amp.
It's like any commodity. It's like any asset. Like we these things have gone up, they go down. Right now they're at about 85% where they were at the very peak.
For those who don't know, okay, how much is a 59 average? The average price of a 59 Les Paul.
An average 59 Les Paul, depending on condition, issues, and the top, they can range from 400,000 to 500,000, maybe more if you have a primo example. I know a few of them that just got
or a classic that belonged to a great player.
Or a classic that belonged to a great player. Now there are this one that I'm selling is completely straight, original frets, original everything. I am the third owner. It went from the original owner to the guy and the family I bought it from, and it changed hands in 1990 and in 2020. So basically, the guy, the person that I bought it from, the widow of the second owner, the family paid $8,000 for it in 1990, which was a lot of money for it.
In 1990, that was still a great deal. Yeah.
It was a good deal because they were about 12 to 15 at the time.
That's right. Yeah.
But by 2000, they were 40, 50. And then by 2007, 2008, they were 350, 400. So
you are getting something, and not just a piece of paper that says you own the publishing to this song.
No, you actually get a tangible asset that is a real guitar, vetted, all original guitar.
And if I may, your name is attached to it, which does make it worth more.
I think it gives
those who are scorning and scowling at the TV screen right now.
No, but I mean, whether you like me or the music I make or my personality, I do know a thing or two about guitars, and I know a real guitar when I see one, and the guitar is completely vetted, and it's a real asset. Anybody would be lucky to have it. So, including I was lucky to have it. So, we'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
And we'll see how it pans out. I like the fact that it also is a proof of concept for a young band that, okay, obviously this is an extreme version of what they could do. But if they had like their first guitar, if they had a guitar that was important, on a single, and they could live without it, they could sell the guitar that they used on the single plus the single and the publishing, or where they want to, they can do pick and choose whatever parts, but they could raise capital to market themselves and go out and maybe four-wall some shows. Maybe they can go out and make a record on their own. They don't need the capital from a record company, because that was always the fact that the record companies would dangle the money and be like, oh, we're gonna put $300,000 in your career. Most people don't have that kind of money to put into their career. Musicians are not fiscally responsible, okay, by and large.
No, by and large, no, they're not.
So the fact that they were operating as a bank, and then you were paying these loans off, at a worse than a Shylock rate, okay, you were better off just self-financing.
Because the record companies, we were definitely indentured servants, servitude.
And if they dropped you from the label, they owned your, God forbid you sold, you signed a 360 deal, which a lot of times now that
Bruce couldn't sign a deal when he had that deal with Mike Appel, Bruce, and he couldn't sign a new deal for 3 or 4 years or more. I don't know how long it was, but that's what happened. It is being owned.
It's being owned, and and a lot of these deals sometimes turn into when the honeymoon period wears off, there's a lot of these deals turn punitive against the artist, where people are going, I was shelved for 7 years, I couldn't make any music. Well, by that time the air has gone so far out of the balloon, whatever air you had in the balloon is gone, and you're almost starting from less than where you started when you signed. It's criminal.
So it seems the wheels just keep turning with you, right? I mean, you and Roy, it's what's next. You know there's something more. You're never satisfied, it seems.
I have a litmus test for participation, and I know there's gonna be a lot of people that be like applauding the notion of I'm out.
Yeah.
If it turns into a TikTok war or some sort of who's better at Instagram or TikTok, really don't want to participate in that. I know some artists that have embraced it and been successful at it. I cannot feign or fake interest in that. It would be a complete put on. You will not see me going, hey, let's jam. We're not doing that. Okay. That's not how I do it. Okay. Because I know that's cool, because you can then take a screenshot with your favorite artist, and I've seen a lot of people do that. That's not why I'm here.
No, because
I would lose the love for it so quickly.
You can still walk into a club with anybody and jam. If you want to jam, it's a live exchange. It's not something that can happen now. Hey, pick up a guitar, Joe. Let's go. I mean, that's
Monday night, Maui Sugar Mill.
That's it, Maui Sugar Mill. August 23rd, folks. Me and Joe. August 23rd at the Maui Sugar Mill. We're doing Blues for Hippies.
We're doing Blues for Hippies, and the thing is, and that there's a point where Humpty Dumpty falls off the wall, and if that's the pivot, that is required for entry, then I will certainly, any of this forward thinking stuff will then just kind of be mothballed. And you know, because I've gotten to the stage in my career where I've proven a point, sold a bunch of records, we've been successful, toured the world, it's been a great run, but everything that I do, I feel.
But and the music is still premier. It's still the main drive for you. Yeah.
But the idea of using someone's platform and this being the delivery vehicle is just, it's the and again, it's one person's opinion, it's mine. It is the antithesis of why I picked up the guitar when I was 4. It's because that is, you are now playing for dopamine and self-aggrandizing adulation. And now I post a lot too, and you look at the likes, and everybody wants to see the responses, and I respond to some of the weird comments. I get it, but it's exhausting, and I've come to the end of my tether with that behavior. So that's pretty much that's the line in the sand that if I
I would love to see young people get out of the damn house again and go to the club, you know, nothing's like, you can go, you know, someone's going to show you how to play it on YouTube, so you don't have to go see BB King. Well, BB's gone, but you know, you don't have to see Joe go to play because somebody's deconstructed it and they're showing you how. It's not the same. First of all, you've seen people do it in the wrong place, that you don't do it there. Something in my mind was the first time I saw BB King and realized how many first finger bends he was doing in the weirdest spots, right? And I said, aha, you know, because you got to see the cat. You got to go see him or her. You got to see them do it live, you know. And
it's got to just come from an organic place. And again, it's just my opinion on it. You know, we were kind of in the forefront of social media marketing, maybe, 7, 8, 10 years ago. Now I don't recognize it. The price of admission is a little bit different and maybe because I'm they're starting to call a boomer. But I you know what, I want the museums curated. I don't want everything that I consume curated. I'd like a little edge on it and a little just, I don't care. It's like, let's bring that back a little bit. But again, once other people find those avenues of now, I know some people that really all they do is sit around all day and post and come up with great little YouTube videos and make a fortune doing it. Yeah. And that's one way to do it. And my hat's already off.
It's funny, Joe, because only within the last couple of months I start getting these messages at the header of my Instagram say, you want to monetize your Instagram account. No, I don't. No, I want to go out to a club and play, or a concert. I want you to come to the concert. I don't want you to get it here, you know. But there's one thing that gives us hope, and we can close with this. Vinyl came back, okay? Yeah. People do know the difference between the real thing given the chance. And that's got to have some faith in people, that they will go out again and they will not stay home and stream everything. You know, the pandemic, it made a lot of people comfortable with their antisocial behavior. But now we got to get out of that. We got to get back.
Yeah, and when I would come home off a tour, I would never go out because that was my little, okay, I need a rest from being around people. But I would never want to just sit at home alone with my thoughts. I mean, that's dangerous, okay? And it's dangerous for me because it's like it just is. But the one thing that I do really that makes me hopeful is the skill set and the ability of these young people that are so well and the depth of knowledge and the homework that they put into it. And I go, well, geez, how did they get so advanced so quickly? And I said, well, okay, well, there are good things about the internet because the access to the information is so much more readily available than we used to like sit there and put quarters on the damn needle.
Yeah, you still have to use your head when you get the information. You have to get the information and use it, though.
Yes, and now as we come out and you see people starting to tour again, will they take that knowledge and put it in a practical sense, or do they prefer to just stay at home and make their money on YouTube and Patreon, which is fine too. There's nothing wrong. There's no right or wrong. There's just a way of doing it. It's just, I wish they would be able to experience that magical night, because not every time you would go out to see a gig or somebody else's gig, or it just when the stars aligned. And I remember one of Bobby Nathan's jams on the Upper West Side when it was another Bobby Rosh, and Ray Gomez was up.
Johnny Rosh and Ray,
Johnny Rosh.
John Rosh, Johnny Rosh
singing and Ray playing, and Pelton was on drums.
Yes.
It was
probably Golub then too.
And they're in the basement of Penang, which was this old Thai.
Yeah, I played there with
Golub. On
Golub.
71st and Columbus, and there were 20 people there, and they just go into some Bill Withers shit.
Yeah,
and you go, this is why just talking about it inspires me.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wish and pray that element of music isn't being pushed aside to going, well, let me just do 50 takes and put it on Instagram. It's not because what doing 50 takes on Instagram is wrong. It's just, you're not going to, there's a transcending soulfulness to being in a room and experiencing a magical night.
You and I both know the X factor is the feedback from the audience. You can feel it. It's not even about applause. It's about, you can feel the vibe off when you walk out there, and you walk out there in front of 20,000 people, you can feel it. You can feel it if it's not happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's clearly never always magical, but when it is, it's worth it. It's worth, it's better than a baseball average, I would say.
It's definitely better than a baseball average. So.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, I can't say enough about our friendship and how proud I am of what you do. And you're such a great player, and you always were. So I never have to really say what a great guitar player you are, because you were from the minute I met you. I mean, you were a little kid that already had a handle on it. And thanks to your father, you had some good records, and you've played with a lot of the people on those records. You've gotten to play with a lot of them. And the most jealous thing is John Lord, is that you played with John Lord. That, to me, he's the best guitar player I never played with.
That's right. John, we did a charity Sunflower Jam at the Albert Hall, and I happened to be with that camp. Like, I was the intermediary between Glenn and
that part of the Black Mountain thing, or
it was because like I was just I was in Black Country community at the time, and country rather, and it was and I asked John, because I played on his symphonic record, and I was like, hey man, you want to play John Henry with me? And he goes, sure. I'm like, dude, this is so gonna be so. I go, listen, it's just the key of E. It is what it is. I said the solo section comes along, it's just E, and we'll see at the end. It's like he played it for 20 years. He walked up on a no pun intended, a John Henry, if you're from the UK, John Henry rented organ. Now, John Henry is a guy, friend of mine, and who has a huge rental company in London.
I know of John Henry. I know who he is, yeah.
He's playing the Ballad of John Henry on a John Henry rented organ.
Yeah.
And it was like he had his own rig, and it was like dropping a needle in 1972. And you're like, well, I know why guitars sound the same or sound like you when you play it, but the tactility and just the way he would voice stuff, and it's
that Marshall too, right? Right into the Marshall.
Yeah, it's like the greatest.
I don't even think he uses the fast Leslie much.
I think from Hush to you hear the Leslie till about 1972. Then it was just straight Marshall.
Then it's like another guitar player. I mean,
ripping. Yeah.
It drives smoke on the water more than the guitar does. People don't
It's
realize
bigger,
that.
it's thicker. That's why Richie gets the credit for being that big thick sound. It's like, no. It's
Still the best Strat sound, my favorite Strat sound, Richie. But now we're getting into that nerd place that
exactly.
maybe some people hoped we would go here, but we've done that enough. It was really gratifying for me to talk to you on the level of just, something other than, and what year is that? And what strings are
right. There's your podcast. What year is that?
But we'll do some of that in a couple of weeks when we meet again, when you get back. And listen, good luck out on the tour. I'm sure you're going to run into some things. There's going to be political statements made. You're just going to ignore them all and play your music, son.
We're showing up and we're playing.
That's right.
That's right. If you like.
With no opinion about anything else but music. And that's all we can. That's what we're good for. Anyways, I'd like to thank you again and for taking the time in the middle of your tour just starting up.
No problem. Thank you, Jimmy. Thanks for having me.